But for now, we have something that should be made into a longbow. In the last video, we just made some of the final cuts to that subframe for the Corvette. And right now, Jarrett is currently working on cleaning it up. While he does that, I am working on this car. Now, this might not look like it has much to do with the Rotary Corvette, but it in fact has everything to do with that Vette. What you'll see here is on this motor, the front cover is one of the older style where you can actually mount stuff to the front. You can actually see it right there. There's a bar holding the motor up. We're gonna be taking that front cover off, probably going billet, most likely, and putting that on the Corvette. We've changed our plans considerably because of how close the front of the motor is to the subframe engine mounts for the LS. Taking this one off, swapping it off of the Mazda motor that we have in there, the 2-rotor, and then making motor mounts from there. Then putting everything that's Corvette, except for this, but all the stuff behind it, back into the car.
Then we're gonna put everything back into the car.
So he's saying that we're gonna put everything back into the car, but I don't think what you're understanding about that is all those things are gonna go back into the car.
In case you didn't get it, they're going back in the car.
Yeah, these things right here, all those go back to the car. So I got all the bolts off of that. Some very, very exciting things coming through with this 4-rotor. Everything's been in process, so it's not like it's even remotely forgotten about, but oh my god, waiting on custom companies to paint a dick. We're just gonna gently try on this. And there you have a front cover for an older Rotary. Oh god, I'm stuck. There it is. So some of the key differences you'll notice on these older Rotaries is the timing, particularly the timing, has this weird ass shaft going through it. That was how it was solved early on in the Cosmos, Rotaries, RX-3s, all the old ones that honestly the younger crowd, myself, don't really care about. You went up to the 93 spec and that whole thing disappeared. What also disappeared was the 4 mounting bolts under there for the front engine brace. We've got a little bit of an issue there. Obviously, that whole front pulley is going to come off. The aftermarket ones of these have a front bearing in here, and the reason that matters, a lot of us, myself included, torque on the alternator in the water assembly too hard, and so it pulls up on the eccentric shaft and wears on the front bearing inside of here. What does that look like? Well, let's take a look over here. There's the front cover. There's the whole front assembly right in there, oil, everything like that, and it's all in pieces. This is off of my 3-rotor, but surprisingly enough, this is actually the front cover from a 93 RX-7. Mix and match, they all work. They have their different purposes. Another nice turn of events is this whole intake assembly was donated temporarily by Abel so I could fit things in there. I had a guy flake on me for my set, and with paying, I've paid for all of these. Paying for all of these, I got 3 different sets in. I'm gonna be modifying some of them, but nothing beats the 13B intake manifold. I think that's just such a pretty look. Of course, maybe the 4-rotor, maybe even the 20B, they're all pretty sick. I've got those to work with and play with, but thank you to my friends who definitely helped me out in a time of need. So this is gonna look very pretty very quickly. I've gotta try to take the engine out now. Intake manifold's off. Engine is chained up. It should just pop off, right? Oh, it's being held on by the jack underneath it. Okay, before you think that the engine's just hanging from God knows what in the back, I did set up the other jack to hold up the torque tube because of this exact moment. What makes this really nice is we don't have the subframe in the way, so we can just slide the engine in and out very easily, which we're clearancing the front of the subframe so we can get this in and out much easier. Hopefully, that makes life, as you can expect, a lot easier. Pop that baby off. There we go. Looking at this closer, you see one of the biggest concerns everybody in the internet land and hearsay land have is that this front cover isn't strong enough to support the torque of the motor. Obviously, jokes, this is a 2-rotor, it doesn't have torque, but there's still some power that needs to be put down, and transferring that power from what is the drivetrain to the front here raises some concerns, especially when you're using rubber on the bolts themselves. So this is definitely my biggest concern. You guys will follow that adventure with me. We have to take off the oil pan because the oil pan does connect to the front cover. It's all one big happy family. Thankfully, we're going with the built to Apex oil pan, so this had to happen anyway. So we're gonna replace the oil pan, replace the front cover. It's all cosmetic as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the oil pan has benefits with less sloshing around, but it doesn't change the function of the motor. So let's get it up on the engine stand and do those right now. You know, I hope, for my sane viewers out there, I hope you're thinking what I'm thinking right now. Oh shit, he has to touch the block. I really did not want to touch it at all. And I'm really not cracking into the keg, but I still don't want to touch this block. Because then you can blame me, I can blame me, we all can blame me for whatever happens. Although to be fair, the 3-rotor ran for years after I ripped it apart repeatedly with poor workmanship, and that helped start this whole channel. So maybe that's a blessing in disguise. So there we go. There's our baby block again. Take the turbulum shorty, just the turbulum chode off of here. Let's hold off for a second. Our good friend oil is rearing its ugly head, so we'll just pause it right there.
I'll just adjust it accordingly.
Okay, that's a big word for you. So coolant.
We should glue all these together and sell it as our oil pan.
The 13B oil pan trick. We can see these now. Look at that. This is my type of craftsmanship. Not that I'm trying to knock Mazda, but hear me out. Hear me out. Use the right length bolt. And you know, there's the old saying in the Bible, you know, the man who lives in a glass house. I'm never sure if that's a Bible quote. It's often attributed to the Bible. Man in a glass house shouldn't throw stones, and I'm chucking them. Dude, I'm using a impact socket because of these guns. +1 to 10 tools for having a soft handle like that.
Not even quick.
I know, I'm embarrassed. My teammate, you're supposed to be talking me up. Oh, it's because of all the anti-seize grease. That's what was causing the slowness. That's it. So far, it hasn't actually gone into or under the pan. You see, it's just flexing this whole local area. We might not even have an oil pan to give away when I'm done. Okay. Let it sit there and think about it. My proudest moment, but I wanted to bring you guys along. I did do some minor damage to the oil pan. Just localized, so I think we'll be fine, but there we go. It takes a lot of patience and self-control because you just want to wrench on it. There we go. There is a stock FD oil pan. I really actually did fine with it, it's okay. What have we got here? We've got the pickup, wet sump, all that fun stuff. Like I hoped the oil would sit and stay. So I guess if we turn it back around, we're in good shape. If we wanted to be crafty, and I'm full disclosure with you guys, I'm not. You take this, which is the oil pressure regulator. All the oil pushes through here, goes through the coolers, goes through the engine, and then is pressurized on the backside, similar to a fuel pressure or any other regulator. We just crush this in so that way it doesn't let as much out, creates more pressure. Rotaries love high oil pressure. Our goal is to turn this 90 degrees and take this front cover off. One thing I'm super excited to get rid of is this double pulley system. We're only gonna use a single pulley. We don't need that. Oh, that is that. Wow. Okay, well there's the mod done. There it goes. Let's wrap it up, boys. And if you notice, this is the timing right here. I terrified myself once because I pulled all of this off and then went, oh crap, because look at it, it's symmetrical. At least it looks like it from the distance. This is the weirdest design to me, because here's how it looks originally. Here's a 180. It looks almost, it starts to line up and then these two bolts don't. Why they do that? That is the most terrifying thing, Mazda. I'm just letting you guys know, even though you're never gonna put this back into production. But, oh my God. Terrified. Timing's everything on these motors. Let's make this part of our life simple. I think I saw it try to move, right?
Yeah, it's moving the flywheel with it.
Yeah. This is the weakest pneumatic drill. I'm not a proud man. I've done things you people wouldn't believe. You do believe that I do stupid shit, and in this case, I literally had to resort to drastic measures because nothing was working in the shop and we're on time budget. I was able to loosen this without jeopardizing anything short of my pride. We wedged it against a pallet racking system. So I wedged it against, and it actually fit. These two holes fit into the holes of the pallet racking and wedged itself. It did it itself. So I got it close enough, and with keeping the flywheel stationary, was able, oh, I let it go too soon.
Didn't loosen enough.
It did loosen, I swear to you guys. Okay, gotta put it back up. Well, you get to see it. Like that. It fits right like that. And then, whoop. I do not know how much torque is used to get this front one on, but we didn't damage anything else getting it off. All these off. These are all very good parts that are going back on. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know what that is. Obviously oil. Oh, because there's oil inside of the actual rotor, the centric shaft. Wow, how did I take that off without noticing on the 3-rotor? So before we take that off, we'll hit all these 12 mils. This is very exciting to me because even though the 3-rotor was very much a running engine, it was broken. You know, the 3rd rotor was popped. This is a perfectly good engine. My job is to be good to it, love it, upgrade it, and it will bring me at least 10 miles of joy. Oh, those aren't rubber, those are just locking washers. I'm sorry, Mazda, I thought you put rubber washers on here for some reason. What I'm gonna do is hold all the bolts in my hand when we're done, and if they're more than 3 different sizes, we're gonna retain this footage so we can see which ones go to which spots. 4 sizes. And here's the moment I've been waiting for. There we go. This spins, obviously, which makes this spin. So this is the drive. This spins something right over here. See that? That's where your oil metering pump comes in. So all the oil that would inject into the cylinders, I guess somebody's gonna flame me for calling them cylinders, into the rotors, crankcase oil, that's what used to do it. That's what did it by on the factory engines, where we just premix now. So none of that's necessary. I'm still leaving it because everything's wedged in the way it's supposed to be. Now take this one, which does not have that. Like I said, we're gonna be using a Billet one of these. There are a couple companies that make Billet front covers. They're all really shiny, but it's not the shininess I give a shit about. It's the functionality. It's for these and this car, and on other cars, like the 4-rotor, you actually get another bearing right here. The front bearing is all the way down in here. It's inside of this part of the front iron. So when you're wrenching on the alternator pulley, it's way up here, right? You have this much leverage that you're ripping on that front bearing. And if your engine's cold, or any of those moments where the ideal situation isn't met with oil, tons of wear to that front bearing. To think about it, these bolts are literally everything that's holding the engine to the car at this point. So that's why I want to go with the Billet front cover, is more stability from the engine to the body of the car. Because it's kind of crazy to think all your torque, yeah, you got a sick clutch and sick transmission brace, but your engine is just being held on by these guys. I had to call full function and get a different timing wheel because this all changes completely. It's not as easy to mount to. I had a really nice message from a guy on Instagram, and he was, most of you guys are just badass, very helpful, and what he had said was, he's like, hey, I really do want to suggest the front cover approach, and I'm like, all I've been told is that they don't support that much horsepower, and of course, you Aussies are crazy animals, and New Zealand too, and had said, oh, you know what, we've done quite a few builds at 800 horsepower with front cover mounts. So I'm like, go on, you've got my attention. And so this current engine isn't 800 horsepower, it's not even close. So I'm all for this because everything else is very bolt on with the Corvette. So now we have bolts that are then gonna go to the LS bolts, or engine mounts, kind of like here and here. They do go back a little bit. The holes are like, I wanna say like right here. So we're gonna have some sort of fancy system, I think, that'll go to right here with, I wanna have actual shock. I don't want this to be hard mounted directly to the chassis. I want this thing to purr like a stock engine. We'll have some sort of hockey puck solution here. Away we go. I want you to see this. I want people to see this. That whole front assembly and the rear assembly, the two sandwich the whole system together on the eccentric shaft. So you can see that's not good if you left it like that. I forgot all about that. Thankfully, I brought that to my own attention. It looks like something you shoot out of a dart gun.
This looks like something R2-D2 hooks up to turn on elevators.
Yeah. So I thought to myself, let's put the oil pan back on for 2 reasons. One, I don't want to tell Nodder the wrong information. And I started telling him I'm pretty sure it's going to be an FD oil pan, because it's an FD engine. Look at that. This is about how good I am at approximating things. Yeah, that'll line up. So there's our first problem.
Another day, another dollar.
You know what I feel like doing, Jared?
What's that, Rob?
Pulling this engine back in and out a couple more times. So we're gonna skip a couple steps because we're doing exactly what we had to do before, and that's putting the engine back in, taking it back out. This is all part of the actual process of building a custom vehicle. Got the new front cover on, which is gonna be replaced by another new front cover. It's longer, so we have to cut more out of the subframe. We're gonna skip through all that for you guys, move on to the next step. Skip through a lot of life torture, and we got the engine in, connected fully again. You saw that earlier in the video, but front cover with the front mounts, had to gut more of the material out of this, which will actually end up plating underneath the oil pan. So it does look like there's very little left, but there's still plenty to attach to and go underneath the engine. Even just this simple, crappy millennial level shows that I've set the engine, off camera obviously, to 0 degrees. Look at it on the engine itself, 0 degrees. Look at the chassis that's now been modified to 0 degrees. And then, of course, down here, the engine mount itself is 0 degrees. So the engine is longitudinally, is that correct? Longitudinally correct height.
Or level. It's
Level, well level, but what way is it level, Jarrett?
To the ground.
Latitudes wide, longitudes this way maybe, I don't know. So with the engine being completely level this way and everything else with the car, we now know that the engine is at the correct twist. The height seems proper because otherwise the rear would have sagged. So we're not really pushing or putting any sort of weird torture or tension on the rear diff or anything. I don't know what goes back there. We just need it to go straight back there. But look at this from the front. It does look like it took a little bit too much material out, but I didn't because there's gonna be an oil pan underneath this. But we're gonna make sure that Built to Apex gives us basically a flat front area underneath this front cover, and then we'll be able to add material back here. What we're gonna have Nodder do, he knows this already, and he actually offered this solution first, is to use these 4 bolts, make some sort of plate, and then have that go up to some sort of hockey puck that goes back into the LS engine mounts. So in theory, with a little bit of cutting, other people could put a 13B inside of a Corvette. So I went through and cleaned up all of these parts while Jarrett was doing, I don't know
I cleaned up everything. Do not listen to him. I cleaned up that. I cleaned up this. I cleaned up this.
Maybe he did. Maybe Jarrett cleaned up all that while I was doing this work. Get the final engine position. So while Nodder works his magic on engine mounts, we can just move. We can put all the rest of the stuff back into the car, starting with the wheels and not the hard brake line that Jarrett's about to crush with his feet. We're gonna take this sway bar off, anti-sway bar, and allow us to take each side and put it in the car independently. After I cleaned all this, it looks really good. I would have cleaned it a little bit better. Actually, I did a pretty shitty job. The good old double ratchet trick. There we go. So that can go on separately. I'm gonna take this card line off first though. I'm gonna snake it through the car. You know, in theory, we could just take all the brake lines and calipers off of the 4-rotor and just get everybody pissed off. Deconstruct that car and put parts on this car. Actually, if we get this car finished enough before our infamous event, we should definitely upgrade all the brakes.
Don't trip.
See you next fall. Oh, you were so that kid in high school, weren't you? You were. I'm not gonna take any other answer.
No, I wasn't.
You were.
I was.
You were a bully. Compared to look at the instructions. This whole assembly. I'm sure some alignment shop guys just watching this and going, oh, he's ruining my life.
You
can see it better than I can.
Yeah, you're just gonna go a little bit higher.
Too high.
There you go.
Okay. And it should have a position where it doesn't let it go the other way. There we go. It's probably easier to do the alignment from here. I could be wrong because both sides have discs. So go ahead and put that back on. Use my left hand so you can see it.
Oh, I see it. I'm capturing that shot AF.
Smash out the brake lines. These are the brackets that hold in the leaf spring, which is just such a weird thing. I've seen them in the back of trucks, and I thought they were extremely outdated, but they're in the front of a Corvette, and they are advanced. I'm sure the Corvette guys know they're not fully advanced. They replace them with actual struts, shocks, coilovers. But for now, we have something that should be made into a longbow. After you've definitely killed a handful of orcs, it's time to put your bow back away for storage. Just get this in there loosely. I really don't know too much about the correct way to work on a leaf spring, but it does seem kind of forgiving. We don't want to put it under too much tension because we have to get the other lower control arm up, and we're just setting ourselves up for a tough time. Oh wow, you can already feel the tension. Okay, well then we definitely want to put this on here. So the plan of attack here is that one's wedged into place correctly. This one is loose. We're gonna go to the very end here, jack this up, and then that should straighten the bar out. That was definitely the right idea, because the other side is in proper. It's actually in the correct spot. Surprisingly, all of that worked, and other than cutting for speed, this actually did go pretty quick. I expected to have to undo all the work we just did, but we're not in the moment of upgrading all these suspension components, so it's not like I wanted each of them apart. I do know is where this side goes. Something like that. And then it latches in that over here. Here's the master guide to all of this. So this one definitely goes right there. So I worked really hard on cleaning this, and I think the results prove themselves.
Again?
Oh shit! You know what? I'm okay with this because
Dude, you have your period?
I'm about to. It sprayed me. What the fuck did...
Rob, I understand if it's that time of the month, dude.
You can see... Oh my god. I can't even be mad. It's so extreme. I cannot be mad. This is what I get... Okay, this is the world telling me, chill out.
Oh, that's a lot. You should really
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm CVS.
I'm saying to you. Oh, why did this piece come off? You didn't take that off, did you?
Which piece?
This one right here?
Nope.
There's no reason for that one to have come off.
I did not take that one off. I did not. I took off this one, and I put it back on. Didn't touch that one.
How'd you clean so well under it?
Under that one?
Yeah.
I swear to God on my life I did not take this one off.
Wow.
I know for a fact I only took off one, and it was this one because it's so far out.
Weird that one is on and tight, and this one was not at all.
We're the security cameras.
Yeah,
we're gonna be able to HD.
We're gonna do a instant replay on this one. This is not the correct way to do this. Pop her right there. The very dirty one goes on the dirty side. There. Let's see some CSI shit right here. Okay. Something's supposed to happen, Jarrett. Something's supposed to unlock. Oh, there we go. We'll just put them in their approximate spots. I'm pretty sure. Okay, I can just screw this up like that. Okay, that's much easier that way. It's really weird seeing this whole thing come back together. Just so you guys know, off camera, I did some soul searching and remembered that some events related to what caused the infamous pant oil problem. And Jarrett left this loose while trying to pull the LS motor about a month ago, and he doesn't remember. He hit his head really hard after a night of heavy drinking and got amnesia, and so I can't be too hard on him for forgetting that he did that.
What really happened is that he forgot that he loosened it.
It may have been in a video, and we were trying to win a bet as to who loosened it, and I forgot that I loosened that one so I could get the whole flywheel, or not flywheel, but the pulley of the LS past it. I did that to myself a month ago. I screwed myself over a month ago. I'm sorry, Jarrett.
Apology not accepted. Fuck you.
Jarrett's been being the mechanic of the hour, putting on tires.
I just got finished putting on everything on the car.
Ever. Okay. It's really starting to look like a car. This is moments before we put it onto the ground for the first time with the rotary engine in it. Obviously, we've got a lot more to fill in, but that's the point. This is a project, and it is hauling ass at this point, except for Jarrett. Jarrett's slow as hell putting a tire on.
I did good with all the other tires.
If we don't make it to LS Fest, this is the moment I want to be replayed.
Is me not being able to get on all the time.
Look at that watch. I have a watch right now that's watching Jarrett just tick away. I can watch the camera filling up with memory. This is a major step in this car because the drivetrain is done. We've got odds and ends and details, but this is the completed drivetrain. Now we got to fill in all of the wiring, all the everything, but we have a vehicle to do that too. Yoink. Yeet. Touch it down.
Holy crap.
The suspension's so light. Everything's like boner and sweatpants up in the air, full mast, which is what I am, because we have a Rotary Corvette in this building. Hella slammed, hella flush. There's no way. We're gonna start adding, in the next video, we're gonna start adding all the radiator, intercooler, all that into the front here. Obviously, as you can see, I already off camera started pulling the body harness back in. That'll clearly get wired, both parts of that. So we got wiring, we've got the rest of the body, we gotta go pick up from our other buddy, we gotta pick up the fender and everything like this. This is moving along. End scene.